Welcome to the Liberated Leader podcast. I'm your hostess, B. Chan. Together, we'll connect with leaders in the psychedelic space and explore the creations they birthed into this world, all in hopes to bring the psychedelic renaissance into the 21st century and spread the message of inner healing. Because when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. So, let's get liberated. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode. On this segment of Tripping Tip, we're going to talk about dosage. Now, before I dive into that, I need to say that I am not giving advice. I'm just expensing knowledge that I acquired through my own personal experience. So your mileage may vary. Take what you want from it and discard the rest. And please, if you need professional help, please go and get some. Again, I'm not going to dive deep into every single topic. These are just sound bites, and I really encourage you to do your own research. Okay. So when we go on a psychedelic trip, there are 3 stages that we typically enter: preparing for the journey, the actual journey, and then integrating the journey, right? And I'm going to try to see if I can actually give a tip about dosage in each stage. So in terms of preparing for a trip, what you need to know about dosage. Again, I'm going to just put this out there. I'm the worst person probably to listen to about dosage. So don't listen to me. Just still going to share with you what I know, but please go and do your own research and talk to everybody supportive of you doing this about it before making your decisions. Okay. And so I think the best way to go about dosing is really being very precise and almost like clinical about it. So get a kitchen scale and measure everything and keep track of, like, actually have record how much you're taking of what and on the day. I think this way you'll be able to look back at it after some time, after some experimentation, and see what works best for you if you're quite new to this. So the reason why I say I'm the worst person to listen to about this is because I grew up in an Asian kitchen. We don't use tools that specifically measure ingredients. We just eyeball things. And after, X amount of times of eyeballing, you just kind of know. So I'm not used to using, I don't even have a kitchen scale. So that's why. So I'm not used to using that stuff at all. And to be honest, everybody, like other podcast guests or, colleagues in the psychedelic space, everybody that I've talked to or I've asked about giving dosage recommendations is pretty shy about it. They're pretty elusive. No one really wants to put a stake on the ground and say, yeah, what are 5 grams or whatever, right? And that's very understandable because people don't want to get in shit. I don't want to get in shit. That's why I'm not telling you, right? But also because it really depends on so many different factors. For example, your age, right? Your metabolism, your height, your weight, your health condition. Are you taking it on an empty or full stomach, right? What's the quality of the medicine? There are test kits, by the way, that you can buy probably on Amazon to test everything out, which I encourage you to do. Your tolerance to the psychedelic, the last time that you ingested psychedelics. So for example, if you just had it yesterday, you're probably going to need a bigger dose today if you're going to want to get to the same level of high. And also, how are you ingesting it? So is it pill form or capsule form, which is a lot easier because whoever you're buying it off of should tell you how much is in one pill. That's already measured out for you. So that's kind of the safest bet. Are you taking it in liquid form? So for example, LSD, you probably typically see them on tabs. It's actually a liquid put on the tab. You can also buy it in a liquid form as well. And you can, 1 drops equals to, I forget what the measurement is, but you can drop it into 1 liter of water, and then you can really, and hopefully your water bottle is marked down to 250, each cup, right? ml. And so you can actually very precisely figure out how much you're ingesting. Another way to ingest it, I guess, would be snorting it. Besides ketamine and cocaine, don't do cocaine. Cocaine is not a psychedelic. No, I don't know what else you would snort. Yeah, I don't know what else you would snort. I've never snorted anything in my life. I think it's really gross. There are better ways to ingest psychedelics, like eating it. So the reason why I don't like snorting, and I think why I'm so resistant to it, is because on both sides of my nose, I have a deviated septum. And so when somebody's taking a breath, like a full inhale, if you're at 100%, I'm probably only at 75. So this is how I've been my whole entire life. I don't even know what it feels like to take like a full breath. Okay. And so I don't want to choke on something when I'm snorting. So I just, I'm staying away from it completely. And I think that's the reason why, okay, I correct myself. I have snorted before. And that's rapé. That's not really snorting. It's somebody blowing shit up my nose. And I think that's why I don't like it. Like it feels like nasty. It just, anyways. So there's all these different factors as to why somebody doesn't really just want to have a blanket, 3 grams is this for everybody. So that's just really not responsible for anyone to do. But I will say 1/20th to 1/10th of a therapeutic dose is a microdose. Now, what that therapeutic dose is will really depend on the therapist that you're working with. And unfortunately, I don't actually know of any reputable sources to direct you to. But when I do come across any, I will either talk about it again or I will update the show notes in here. Okay. So the best advice, I guess, I can give you, I wouldn't even use that word, that's too strong. The best suggestion that I can give you is, talk to your microdosing or your integration coach, to your source, talk to experienced friends, but really at the end of the day, so talk to all these people to, get more knowledge and wisdom gems from them. But at the end of the day, I think it's such a personal experience. It's kind of like your diet or exercise, right? Certain foods might sit better with you, or certain exercise might work for your particular body type. Same thing with psychedelics, right? So I know that I'm a bit more, I have a higher tolerance for shrooms than the average, I don't know, than my friends. And, acid just sits better with me than any other one that I've taken before. So that's for preparation. During the journey, there's nothing I can say. There's no tip that I can give you for integration. But for the journey, what I would say is start low and go slow. So start with a really low dosage, one that you're not going to be scared of, especially if you are first starting off, right? If this is your first time ever doing it, don't take a gram of mushrooms. Don't even take 0.5 of, 0.5 grams of a mushroom. Go with like a microdose. That's super safe. You're probably not going to feel too much on a microdose. Maybe a slight tiny bit of a buzz for an hour if you're that sensitive. But most of the time it's like taking vitamins, really. Start low, go slow. So start with a low dosage. So take a tiny little bit and then wait like a couple hours, see how you feel. You might want to do some journaling, microdosing journaling, while you're going through that journey, and really just noting down what are the emotions that are coming up. Are you getting dizzy? Is your vision getting sharper? I don't know, when you look at the trees, are the leaves dancing in weird patterns, whatever, just write all that down. And after a while of experimenting, when you go back to your record book, you can actually start to define, the range that works best for you. Right. And going slow means maybe do it in the morning, 2 hours later, see how you feel. If you still want to dose up, okay, cool. Take another amount of what you did initially and just keep checking in every hour, every 2 hours. So how are you feeling? Do you still want more? Okay. How much more do you want? Just a tiny bit more? Are you a little bit more adventurous? What's happening? So make sure that you're with people that again, your social setting, right? Who are leading you through this, people that you trust, know, like, and trust, who can lead you through this. If you are a experienced psychonaut, then maybe you're totally capable of doing it yourself and sitting yourself, but we all start somewhere. And I definitely recommend baby steps. And that's our tripping tip of the week. The Liberated Leader podcast is brought to you by Akita, a kick in the ass agency. We specialize in helping female psychedelic coaches who want to impact a global community by evolving their heart-based business to reach more people and fucking change the world. We are the first growth consultancy that provides website, branding, and evergreen funnel solutions at the intersection of marketing, technology, and design. As a complimentary gift to our listeners who are interested in the healing potential of psychedelics, we personally curate an ever-growing list of psychedelic coaches, guides, therapists, and clinics in North America that meet our standards of operation for you to have a safe, guided, intentional journey with. Just click on the link in the show notes and enter your email to get access. And now on to the conversation with this week's podcast guest. And welcome back to another episode of the Liberated Leader podcast. Today, I'm super excited because I'm talking to Dave Grillot. He is a yogi, plant medicine enthusiast, and change maker located on the Pacific coast of Costa Rica. In 2014, he launched Karma Tribe, a pay-it-forward social network, which grew to be in 36 countries. And in 2019, with a friend, John, he started Thank You Plant Medicine, a global gratitude movement to raise awareness and destigmatize plant medicines and psychedelics through gratitude. He currently teaches nonviolent communication and leads men's circles in Costa Rica. Welcome to the pod, Dave.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon. Glad to be here with you.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're so happy to have you. So Dave and I haven't met before. And so this will be a very interesting conversation to get to know each other a little bit. But how I know of Dave, or how I know Dave, is actually through volunteering with Thank You Plant Medicine. And so I think before we kind of go there, let's take a step back and talk about Karma Tribe.
I would love to share with you about it.
Amazing. How did you get started with that? Is it still running right now? And how do people get in on it if they would like to?
Well, I'll start by saying that unfortunately it's closed down now. So I was a big fan of couch surfing and of the pleasure of, I see you nodding your head. So you know the pleasure, right? Of like, you're visiting a new location and you can search on couch surfing and find a place to crash and make new friends, or have travelers come stay with you. And I thought, wow, this is just great. What if the couch surfing concept was extended to offering other services and requesting help with things that you needed, offering services, and a similar kind of platform where you grow in reputation and positive reviews when you help others. And I thought, this is a win-win, because, what's very easy for me is very hard for someone else, and person A has what person B needs, person B has what person C needs. And I just thought, oh, this is going to explode around the world. This is going to revolutionize exchanging services. So I was really passionate about it, and I launched myself into the endeavor of building the social network. And I worked really hard on it over a period of 5 years, and it grew to be in 63 countries actually. But it didn't take off as I had foreseen. It didn't take off like the next Facebook or anything, and I didn't quite have a business model for it. And then it came to a point where I couldn't afford the programmers that I'd hired anymore, and then hackers came in, and finally, like, to my sadness, I had to shut it all down kind of suddenly.
Oh my gosh.
And it was in that depression that I went through for a couple of weeks after that, because I really felt like I had mutilated my arm, because I had devoted all my energy, all my savings, all my sense of identity was so wrapped up in it, that to shut it down was really sad for me. And I was wondering, had I missed my big opportunity to contribute something really big and beautiful to the world? And so I was in a bit of a slump and kind of like questioning everything. And that's when a friend of mine said, Dave, would you be interested to come try ayahuasca with me? And I said, you know what? Never had any interest in this before, but I trust you. Let's go check this out. Seems like a good time.
Yeah. I'm just going to pause you right there. Have some questions about Karma Tribe. So, first of all, let's just acknowledge the fact that you grew it from nothing, and it was in 63 different countries. That's a huge accomplishment. So you must be very proud of that.
Thank you. I'm so proud of it. I am. And I got hundreds of emails when it closed down of people telling me, how it had enriched their lives, and they had made new friends through it, and they had learned new languages. And what I do now look back on it with a real fondness and a pride that I was able to birth that. So I think through my use of plant medicine, that kind of resentment and disappointment and being hard on myself has been transmuted into like patting myself on the back for giving it my all and pursuing my dream.
100%. I can see how plant medicine and psychedelics can help us kind of, lay down the sword, so to speak. Question about, having grown it to 0 to 63 countries and then it not working out, like looking back on that, what are some lessons that you've learned that you're able to either give other budding entrepreneurs advice on, or have you applied to Thank Plant Medicine?
Well, there's a bunch actually. One, like on a kind of practical sense, the platform was open to any kind of service in any country, in any language. And I thought, if we keep it wide open, it's going to be there's something in it for everyone. And of course, and why not? And it would be a shame to limit it and say, no, you can't offer that service here. But now I've learned that, in fact, focusing on a niche is a much more wise approach, because you want to create a community that is focused in one area and that they know what they're going to get when they go to your service, and then you can grow from there, as opposed to a person being like, oh, I want to learn a language. I guess I could maybe find that on Karma Tribe, or I could just go to a website focused on learning languages. That's a much better bet. So there's a saying in Spanish, el que mucho abarca, poco aprieta. And it means like, if you try to get everything, you end up getting nothing. So narrowing down your focus. I never really found a co-founder, which now I understand that if you want to build something big, you need to have a team. And also, I was somehow afraid to try to charge money for it, because I thought it went against the ethos of it. And so my own resistances towards money played against me in the logical thing to do when you have a startup is you want to test out different business models, because money is not a bad thing. Money is the energy that flows through it, demonstrating to you that people are getting value from it. And so now my relationship with money has changed a lot. And so that was really, really in my way, because, who knows, maybe everyone would have just paid $5 a month to be part of it, and then all the bills would have been paid. But somehow, when you're leading like a big project, your fears and your little issues end up getting magnified if you're not careful, because every small decision you make impacts a lot of people. So
100%. And honestly, those 3 lessons that you just shared with us resonates with me so hard. I think, in my own entrepreneurial journeys and like of my friends as well, it's like not niching down enough has always been like a common mistake for like a newbie entrepreneur, right? It's always easier. Like to me, I'm still a solo founder. I always wish I had somebody who's a co-founder with me, because it's just not, I don't want to say easier, but like you just feel better when you have someone on your team that you can bounce things off of, and like they can be your, like they can just tell you if you're being crazy, or like if you need to step up and like, take up space. Yeah.
A line comes to mind that a friend told me with regards to having a relationship, like a long-term romantic relationship. And I think it also applies to having a partner in a business endeavor. And what he said to me was, when you're by yourself, you can move fast, but when you're with a partner, you can go far. And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, lots of wisdom there. Yeah. The third point that you talked about was being afraid to charge money for it. I think that is so rampant in our psychedelic and healing industry. Would you agree?
Oh, totally.
Where
totally,
do you think that comes from?
Well, probably because a lot of us who enjoy psychedelics have a fear of capitalism, basically. And we've seen how, the greediness, and how, for me, it was with my dad feeling like a resentment that he wasn't around much when I was young, because he was always working and so career oriented. And I grew up thinking like, I don't want to prioritize making money over the people I care about, So basically a kind of a rebellion towards capitalism that's a lot of us share. what I've since learned, I've learned a lot about this subject, but one of the things I learned from Marshall Rosenberg, founder of Nonviolent Communication, is never give anyone the power to make you submit or rebel. So if you find yourself rebelling against something, that's usually an indicator that you're more acting out of fear and, you know, not necessarily really living in the most aligned way. And on this topic of money, I just really want to share with you what a Mexican medicine man told me, which has just been like engraved into my mind ever since he told me. We met for some ceremonies, and he asked me like what was my intention for the experience, and I said I really want to like manifest some prosperity in my life. And he said, "Oh brother, huge mistake. Look all around you. Look at this abundance. There's abundance and prosperity all around you. You have abundance, you have prosperity. It sounds that what you're looking for is economic harmony." And he said, be very careful in the way that you articulate what you're looking for, because if you express it in the wrong way, you're sending very confusing mixed signals to the universe. And so economic harmony is what you should focus on. And that has really resonated with me.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because prior to your explanation, I definitely just thought, oh yeah, abundance. But like that can mean so many different things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is, I love this topic that we're on right now. So I kind of want to stay here for a little bit, but could you go into more detail about how you were able to shift your mindset about money?
I was confronted with, through frequent use of ayahuasca, was forgiving my parents for things that I like felt resentment towards them for. And so with my dad, this resentment of, yeah, but you weren't there, and I waited by the window. My parents were divorced, and I would have like one night a week with my dad, and then every 2 weekends. And when I was with my dad, he was very present and a wonderful, wonderful dad. But there were many times where like me and my sister waited by the window, and he said he would pick us up at 5, but he wouldn't make it until 6:30 or 7. And when you're a little kid, that time just goes by so slow. And so I had this resentment of, how could you prioritize your career over time with your kids, and a lot of pain. And I held resentment towards my mom for other things. And then through the use of ayahuasca and like contemplating and integrating, I started to experience what their childhoods must have been like, and how those patterns they experienced from their parents, and their parents were doing the best that they could, and my parents were doing the best that they could with what they knew how. And so once you can really like walk a mile in someone's shoes, which plant medicine sometimes gives us that ability of like really like imagining, or what it was like from their perspective, then you can feel the pain that they felt, the difficulties that they felt, and then you can forgive them. And so for me, that was a big step, is forgiving my dad, forgiving my mom. Took a lot of time, but then it was a kind of clean slate to start to learn about how actually, if I have money, I can make a lot of beautiful things happen. I can't resist just throwing it in here that in a spontaneous move recently with my fiance, we bought a pretty big piece of Amazon rainforest.
Oh, congrats.
Like after reading the book, The Surrender Experiment, I'm not sure if you've read that. It's an incredible book. Oh, wholeheartedly recommended to all your viewers. And it's about how when you surrender to the opportunities that present themselves in your life that resonate with you, how beautiful things beyond your wildest dreams can happen. And that's what's been happening with this. And just got an opportunity of I guess it's a long story, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but now I'm a custodian of like, 180 acres of pristine Amazon rainforest, and in a personal commitment to protect it, for my whole life, and hopefully bring the medicines in it out to help other people. So
that's super cool.
So that's something that with a bit of money you can do, And so now I'm seeing like, okay, money is an energy that I can do a lot of beautiful things with. So it's totally cool to charge.
It's totally cool to charge. Yes, stamp of approval there. I just want to go back to the point that you made about like putting yourself in your parents' shoes and being aware that they did the best that they could with what they had, with what they knew, and that that kind of deserves a bit of leniency, a bit of forgiveness, deserves leniency and forgiveness for that. And I think I'm at the point where like I know it. I understand it. I understand that they did the best that they could with what they had. I'm not quite crossed that bridge of full forgiveness.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. Well, what you're describing right now is the longest journey that anyone will ever take, and that's the journey from the head to the heart. And so there's a lot of things like that where you understand it intellectually, but to feel it in your heart and to like have it like be like incarnate in your, not just your mind, but your physical body, your emotions, your energy, to have it all in alignment takes some work. And one thing that I found really, really useful is to like do a process where, first of all, you let yourself really feel the pain that you feel, the hurt, the sadness, the anger. Just let yourself completely feel it, and then like think about like, what did you feel and need when you were a child, and empathize. Like, yeah, I needed, my dad to be there when I was waiting by the window, and I needed support, and I needed to know that I was loved, and I needed like clearly communicated to me that, when he was running late, like the reason, and I needed an explanation. I needed clarity. I needed to know that I was loved. And so like, let yourself like really connect with what that little child like felt and needed. And then think about like, what was going in your parents, like that, oh, he was so busy with work. He needed to feel safe with the finances. He needed to make sure that he took care of his family. He needed to pay the mortgage. He needed to like have a good relationship with his employer, and and he needed to do right by his child, but he also needed to like take care of his own career. And so if you can kind of like connect with the feelings and needs of both parties, you can just really let go of the resentment ultimately.
That's a good exercise. I'll definitely try that in my next meditation. And, it's just another reminder for me to be like, yep, going down to Mexico, doing more ceremony, because there's more layers, more things to kind of slough off. And yeah, a lifelong commitment, definitely.
Yeah. And it's beautiful to have that intention to keep working on yourself and developing. I don't know if you've talked about this on a previous podcast that you've had, but I think it's worth naming that with psychedelics and leadership, there can also be like a kind of a accentuation of the ego with psychedelics, and a person experiencing like major blind spots. I certainly have had that. I know that like I have some friends who their perspective is like, oh, they've healed everything that they needed to heal, and now psychedelics are just for enjoyment and music and entertainment. But I think that's like very much tricking yourself. So it's beautiful.
Yeah.
What I heard from you is like a commitment to like continue down the path of working on yourself and realizing that there's still a lot to uncover.
Thank you for that. I'm in my head, I'm just like, what does it feel like when you think you're all healed? That's elusive to me. Okay. Well, moving on from that, thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to continue on with your story of in 2019, a friend of yours was like, hey, do you want to do this thing with me? And that became Thank You Plant Medicine. So how did that start and how did that happen?
So the Mexican shaman that I mentioned earlier, he told me another thing. He said, trust is what builds the cosmic family. And at the moment I was like, oh, that sounds a little woo woo, but I think that's also one of those very deep, deep quotes. And in that moment, I decided to trust my friend and go to this ceremony. And since then, I've seen that a lot of like trust is a kind of an alley into new places where like beautiful new things beyond your wildest dreams are available, but it requires trust. I guess this is a whole topic in itself, but you know, like we want to analyze everything, but sometimes if you just close your eyes and trust a friend, oh my, that will take you to beautiful places beyond your wildest dreams. And that's what happened with me with ayahuasca, is that in that kind of depression state, I just feeling like I had missed my chance, basically. Like I had messed up because I was aware of these major mistakes that I had made in the way that I had done it. And somehow I had visions that like just millions of people could help each other and not have to rely so much on money. And like, it was, I can't express like how much I felt that project, like in my fiber of my being, that it would be positive for the world. And to notice that major mistakes I had made, I was really beating myself up about it. But then in the ayahuasca ceremony, I experienced like from my first ceremony and then the next 10 ceremonies, like full on light and just so much light inside of myself. And like, you are just getting started. You have so much to offer. You have so much potential. It's all just beginning. You know, you have so many opportunities to make a positive difference, like that are just right in front of you. And you just need to start speaking your truth. You need to step into your power and not be afraid. You know, people are interested to hear what you have to say. Like, and so basically, like, it boosted my confidence in a deep way, where it went from wavering to like being on solid ground. And it was exemplified to me in a public speaking engagement a few months later, where in my own estimation, my public speaking engagement, even though it was a talk that I had given before and it was about the power of generosity, even though I had given the talk like 3 or 4 times before, this time it was like 10 times better, because I rehearsed less. I just connected more with what I wanted to say. And I believed in myself. I believed that I had something to say, that I was giving the talk because I was offering something that was valuable to people. And tell me if you relate to this, B, that the self-confidence that you have when you engage in an endeavor, it makes a big difference in how it all flowers or not. Have you noticed that?
100%. 100% resonate and agree with you in terms of no matter how many times you've done it before, it's almost like, what energy are you bringing to this? What are you seeding this with of your essence, type of a thing, right?
Oh yeah.
And
Beautiful.
it's like a recipe. Like, you know, what is the quality of this, I don't know, pepper or something that you're going to put in there? Is it fresh, newly ripe? Is it rotten? Is it, you know, it's, yeah.
Then we heard about the World Ayahuasca Conference in Spain in 2019, I think it was. And it was in the town of Girona, Spain. And I thought, I'm bankrupt now with Karma Tribe. There's no way I can afford going to this, but oh my, going to the World Ayahuasca Conference and look at the panelists and all these tribe leaders are going to be there and neuroscientists, and oh my God, what a dream it would be to go. But no, I really can't afford it. No chance. I went to do some mushrooms in the mountains upon the invitation of a friend. And there I met a tax accountant in the middle of the mushroom trip. And she specialized in the exact tax situation that I was in, of like an American working for an American company, but living in Costa Rica, but paying taxes in the US. And one thing led to another, and I ended up getting back $13,000 on my taxes through her help, just in time, a month before the World Ayahuasca Conference. And I was like, okay, this is a sign.
100% divine intervention.
And so my friend and I went, we had an amazing time. And it's a long, beautiful story. I'll try to abbreviate it, but like on the last day of the conference, after like 5 sleepless nights of like plant medicine use and celebration and this amazing conference and everything, on the last day, I had this idea, like in one of the talks about, because Rick Doblin, the founder of MAPS, he was saying that the biggest barrier in psychedelics, like becoming more widespread, is the cultural stigma. And he said the cultural stigma is what's constantly blocking us, and the science is showing the benefits and this and that, but the cultural stigma is blocking us. And I thought, what if we did a kind of a Me Too movement, where basically the similarity to the Me Too movement is that everyone expressing themselves in unison on social media about how they had benefited from plant medicines or psychedelics. In this day and age, wouldn't that be such a great use of social media and of like propelling awareness and breaking the stigma? What if everyone who had benefited around the world from mushrooms, ayahuasca, LSD, all these substances, what if we expressed our gratitude in unison? If we organized ourselves in such a way to do that, that could help with the stigma, right? And it was one of those moments where it's like you think you have a good idea, but there's all these different leaders in the room, and are you really going to raise your hand and say it, yes or no? And you're kind of wavering. But remember, now I had like 1 degree of more increased confidence in myself and of thinking that I had something to say. And I raised my hand and suggested it. And Rick Doblin was like, this is a very good idea. I really love this idea. We would support you on that. And then some others in the room said, yeah, I think this is a great idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. So then we milled down to the final talk of the day of the conference, called Ayahuasca and the Future of Society. And it was an auditorium with like over 1,000 people. And the panelists were talking about the ayahuasca and the future of society. And one of them was saying, we need to integrate the teachings of the medicine with great humility, and we need to be patient. And another one was saying, we need to work together. We need to somehow work together. Another one was saying, until the noose of capitalism is off our necks, there's nothing that we can really do. And I kind of elbowed my friend in the ribs and I said, John, there's no real action being proposed here. What a shame, right? So then they said, okay, well, we have 10-minute question and answer period before the closing ceremony, if anyone has a question for us. And so I said, John, I should go down and suggest this idea, right? This idea of this campaign. And he said, go for it, go for it. And I said, I don't know if now's the time. I don't know. I'm not sure. And he said, come on, go for it, go for it. So the combination of like trusting your friends and having your friends there to encourage you, and like just going for it, right? In those 50-50 moments. So I went for it, and I walked down to the front and I grabbed the microphone and I said, I have a question, but actually it's a question to all of you. And I turned to the audience and I said, guys, I don't know about you, but I don't personally share on Facebook about how much ayahuasca has benefited my life, even though it has really helped me, because I'm afraid of what people are going to think of me. And we all shared how we had benefited together. I would feel a kind of strength in numbers there, and I would be willing to share. So what if we all spoke out together? Does this idea resonate with you? I think it could be a concrete action to come out of this conference. And if you would like to be a part of this, I'll be standing over here for the next 10 minutes. And so there was an applause, and then people started making their way down in the audience and, hey buddy, and someone people throwing me business cards from the upper balconies, like, I love this idea. And people showing up like, brother, I had this exact same idea. It's time to share our stories. And someone else like, yeah, I've been working with these medicines for 12 years and I haven't told my brother, I haven't even told my parents. And why are we so closed-mouthed about this? Like, let's share our stories together. And so that's where Thank You Plant Medicine was born.
Wow, it's a really a coming out of the psychedelic closet moment, or birthing, and then like, an annual kind of revisitation to that too. Hey.
Yeah. So that's what it is like on every February 20th. We all express our gratitude for how plant medicine or psychedelics have helped us. We use the Facebook profile frame, and we have a day of events around the world. You hosted an event in Vancouver.
Yes, I
did. So beautiful.
I have a question. So why February 20th?
That was just a date that randomly came into my head at that time. It seemed like a good choice. It was like 8 months away from that day in front of the audience. And I thought, like, it's not too far, it's not too short. We can plan this campaign, we can reach out. And I also knew that this big festival Envision was happening in Costa Rica on those dates. And I'm friends with the organizers, and I thought, like, okay, maybe we could do an event in Envision, and it just sounds like a good date. Okay. And I thought, like, let's announce a specific date. So instead of just saying like, we'll tell you later when it is, like, I thought, like, let's go for it.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. And so how many years have we had the Thank You Plant Medicine movement now?
So we just had our third year.
Wow.
Yeah. And we were a little bit challenged by the outbreak of the epidemic, right after our first year. Our first year was just crazy, with like events happening in 29 cities, Tel Aviv, Medellin, Paris, Dublin, and everything. And then in the second year, with all the restrictions, we lost a bit of momentum, but now we're regaining momentum, and we have we're engaged in a number of different activities. We have a business plan in motion, and it's a long-term vision to keep snowballing the gratitude every year.
Amazing. And kind of on that note, like, what's the vision, or like, what are some of the future things that we can expect from Thank You Plant Medicine?
So we have a Facebook group that maybe some of your viewers have heard of. It's called Thank You Plant Medicine Community, and it's close to 20,000 members. And that's, like, perhaps you could call it the nucleus of our community, where there's a lot of people exchanging ideas and asking questions and helping each other. And what we observed in the group is that a lot of people are asking about safe places to engage in, safely and legally engage in plant medicine and psychedelics. And there's also a lot of questions about how do I prepare for my first ceremony, and just kind of like basic educational questions, which, because this is with Michael Pollan's book and everything, the whole scene is gaining in popularity. So we're thinking that, like, one of the things that we can offer, we want to feature some trusted retreats that we thoroughly investigated, that we know them, we've talked to them, and that we can basically like present to our community, like, these retreats are vetted, and here's a few pages of writing about like what this retreat is all about, and the history and the lineage and the precautions and that they take, and the setting and the integration and everything. So we're going to be featuring retreats, and we're also going to develop some educational resources, like some courses about like preparing for your first ayahuasca ceremony, preparing for your first San Pedro ceremony, integrating, the experience, and some really useful educational resources that are very like user friendly and just taught in a very loving, like, kind way, and with some like enjoyable visuals and videos. So we hope that we can find that sweet spot of like providing this value to the community while generating some some money, like from these endeavors,
Yep.
to then be able to hire some employees for Thank You Plant Medicine and just get the whole gratitude machine working. And kind of like what we were talking about earlier about how finding some economic harmony is a way to increase your impact in the world.
100%. 100%, especially if what you're building is new and you're testing demand. The best way is to have somebody pay for it. And that is the ultimate way to know that if somebody is interested or if what you have is in demand. So that's great. So, spotlighting some retreat centers that you guys vetted, and of course, coming up with courses for people who want to know more about intentional safe usage of psychedelics. So taking a step back right now in terms of what does Thank You Plant Medicine offer currently, besides the annual date that we all come together and celebrate plant medicine. There is basically integration circles every single day of the week, people for, I guess, like BIPOC members, women's group. I think there's like an inner child one, and so on and so forth. And there's also a petition, I believe, that's still currently running.
Yeah, it's not really a petition. It's a list of people that are like committed to expressing their gratitude, honoring Indigenous traditions. And it's a kind of like, let's say like the Thank You Plant Medicine Charter or something like that. And so basically you fill that out on the thankyouplantmedicine.com website and you're added to our list basically. And then we're going to let you know about everything that's happening with our community. And thank you for highlighting the sharing circles. This is something I'm really proud of. I just had my sharing circle this morning. Every Thursday morning, I host one. Oh, it's a very rich resource. Just to know that no matter where you are, if you're dealing with some like discomfort from a recent ceremony or trip, and we all know this discomfort that I'm speaking of like, just kind of questioning, like, what did that mean? What should I do now? Like, what did I do? Like, it can be unsettling. It can be very unsettling. So we have all these sharing circles available. It's on thankyouplantmedicine.com/sharing circles, /sharing-circles. And we have the list there, the calendar, and we have a bunch available. We're also looking for more people to host circles. I know, B, you're thinking of getting involved in that, or you're starting to get involved. It's really exciting for us. So whether you're perhaps interested to hold space, or whether you want to get some support, or whether you just want to meet other people in the community, I would encourage you to check out our sharing circles.
100%. I would definitely echo that. And from my own experience and perspective, the depth of training that I went through to become a host was, holy crap, I can't believe that's for free. Like really teaching you how to hold space and like what to do in certain situations and how to structure your own integration circle if you were wanting to do that, like offer that in your local community. Like all that was there and more.
Wow. That's beautiful to hear. I'm glad it was valuable for you. And this is something that I hadn't really thought of, that the preparation can serve you in all kinds of other avenues and opportunities, that like learning how to hold space. It is a beautiful program we put together. Props to Makita who led that. Yeah,
I'm sure it was like thousands of hours of teamwork and putting together, because there were so many different teachers as well in the videos that you watched. One of my last few questions for you: what is in the future for Dave? You mentioned that you're currently teaching nonviolent communication and leading men's circles there in Costa Rica, and also that you bought this huge pot of Amazon rainforest. So what's next for you, and then how can our listeners support you?
So my fiance says the truth is vibrational. So if you're feeling like a really good vibe from what I'm doing and you'd like to connect with me, I would welcome you adding me on Facebook, for example. And you can find me like fb.com/dgrillot, and you can read my spelling there on the podcast, Grillot. So I'd love to hear from you if you'd like to reach out personally. I'm working on a nonviolent communication course, tentatively called Becoming a Nonviolent Communication Ninja, Learning to Resolve Conflict Gracefully. So I'm finishing building this course right now. I have a men's circle that I'm looking to multiply because everyone is enjoying it so much that I'm trying to find a way where it could have like 50,000 men in it. And the way that I'm foreseeing to do this is to basically develop it in such a way where it's like a program over a year long. And at the end of the year, the men graduate and are basically trained to open up their own men's circles. And I'm envisioning a kind of an expansion in that way, because I'm starting to see the real beauty of men's work and learning to hold space for others. And I discovered so much toxic masculinity in myself through the use of ayahuasca, and now I'm dedicated to helping men heal and like not impose their energy on others, but rather hold space to the beautiful feminine creative energy in the world. Kind of like if you think about like Father Sky, just there holding space for the creative feminine force of Mother Earth. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily like man women thing, but it's these two energies that exist in harmony with each other. So I'm very excited about that. And I've got all kinds of other projects on the go. I'm working with Don Jose Campos, who's a very loved curandero from Peru. And we're developing a ayahuasca facilitator school. Oh. So this is very exciting to me, because to meet the expanding interest in ayahuasca, I think it's very important to have an expansion in the right kind of well-trained leadership and facilitators who can hold space safely. So it's kind of like the next step from like holding space in integration circles to holding space in actual medicine experiences. So this is something I'm very passionate about, and it's like a more long-term plan that I'm working on with Don Jose on. So if any of this resonates with you, reach out to me personally. I'd love to hear from you.
Amazing. I'm seeing a pattern of sharing knowledge, sharing wisdom from a lot of the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have a website or something where they can find out more about your nonviolent communication course or men's circle? Or what's the best way for them to?
Unfortunately, I do not at the moment. Like, I'm still working on that. So the best way would be to message me on Facebook, facebook.com/dgrillot, or you can message us on Instagram, like Thank You Plant Medicine on Instagram, and just say like, this message is for Dave. I'm interested in your men's circles, or I'm interested in what you said about this. Let's talk. Yeah. That would be another way to connect with me.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Was there anything else you'd like to share with us today before we wrap up?
I would like to express my gratitude to you, B, for holding space for me to share what matters to me, and to share about my journey and express myself, and also for holding space for a lot of other people. And you're a bridge for all kinds of ideas, inspiration, and so you're helping a lot of people. And it's kind of like a lot of the people that are benefiting from what you're doing, you probably don't even hear from them. You know, it's like, how many times have you listened to a podcast that you really enjoyed, but you don't write to the podcast hosts?
I never do. But I will share it with my friends. So if any of my episodes helped you guys, please do share it with your friends.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And I've just been thinking a lot recently about how in our fast-paced world, we can forget to be grateful to those around us, to ourselves. And somehow being grateful is what refuels you in everything that you're doing, and gets you back connected with that original compassionate energy. If any of your listeners are feeling like a little thin right now, like thin on energy, thin on motivation, kind of tired, kind of low energy, just maybe take a moment to be grateful to yourself first for you're taking some time to listen to a podcast to enrich yourself and learn to reach your potential as a leader and improve yourself. And you can be grateful to yourself for small things that you've done today to help others or to help yourself or to leave a light footprint on Mother Nature. And so I guess just a reminder to be grateful, because it has a real invigorating effect.
Yes, 100% agree. So we're filming this late March, and basically the spring equinox just passed, and it's a really great timing for me in terms of just, new beginnings and rebirth for sure. But along with that, something a bit more in my face right now is just slowing down and being present and not feeling compelled or not giving into that itch of like rushing, I have to get there type thing, but just, yeah.
Oh, good for you. Good for you for recognizing that that's what you need right now.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Dave, for your time. It has been a pleasure, and I can't wait to see what you're going to do next and how I can help continue to support you in all that.
Thank you, B. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Liberated Leader podcast. If you found value in today's episode, then please, 1, leave us a positive review, share it with a friend. 2, join our tribe on social. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, to your liberation and beyond.